Like uh, what kind of feature a technology, a mobile technology should have. So these are actually defined by ITU, International Telecommunication Union. So while it was being designed or specifications were made in the year 2015, ITU came out with various usage scenarios and the key capabilities of 5G. And thereafter 3GPP developed the technology, and now we are seeing the rollout. So ITU had defined three usage scenarios of 5G. First is called enhanced mobile broadband, EMBB. Whatever mobile phone you may be having, basically you are using the feature of EMBB, right? The second usage scenario was URLLC, that is ultra reliable low latency communications. So example can be a self-driving car. A self-driving car would require a very reliable and low latency communications to operate, because any delay or any reliability issue may result into collision, crash, or many other kind of accident. And the third feature is MMTC, massive machine type communication. This is nothing but the network of IoT, Internet of Things. So today, whatever we see object, suppose in this particular auditorium, so going forward, every object may have some kind of sensor. It may be reporting its status to the network, right? So everything would connect to the network finally. Okay, so that is MMTC. And our focus today would be more on MMTC as the topic demands. Okay, so to support enhanced mobile broadband or our mobile phone which is having EMBB and other applications, what are different capabilities of 5G which are defined by ITU and slowly getting evolved. So whatever 5G we have today, that may not be meeting all the requirement because it is evolving. Any and every technology actually evolves over a period of time. Okay. Arawaj? Okay. Okay. So for enhanced mobile broadband, one of the key performance parameter is the peak data rate. When I say पीछे तक आवाज जा रही है? Okay. Is that suppose you have one base station, one tower, what is the total capacity of that tower? What is the total peak speed it can actually handle? And of course, that data rate gets divided among users. So for 5G, it is 20 Gbps in downlink direction and 10 Gbps in uplink direction. So it is 20 times better compared to 4G. These are theoretical speed. Peak speed practically will get lesser, right? So whatever speed we get, we call it user experience data rate, but that is the peak speed one can get. And the speed depends upon a parameter called spectral efficiency. You may be aware about the spectrum. How many of you are aware about spectrum? Yeah, many of you. So spectrum, the airwaves, right? So that is like the unit for that is hertz, right? So how much data rate I can achieve per hertz, right? In 1 hertz of the frequency, how much data rate I can achieve? That is called spectral efficiency. So for 5G, it is 30 bit per hertz per second per hertz, right? So for example, if you have a 100 megahertz spectrum available, right? Telecom service providers, if they are given 100 megahertz of spectrum, so 100 into 30, they can achieve 3 Gbps of speed, right? In case they want to achieve 20 Gbps of speed, so how much spectrum they would require? 20 Gbps divided by 30, so around 666.66 megahertz, right? Around 700 megahertz of spectrum our operators would require to really achieve a very high data rate in every base station of 20 Gbps. Okay. The most important parameter is the user experience data rate, the data rate which we may get in our mobile. So user experience data rate defined for 5G is 100 megabit per second. 4G, for 4G it was 10, so 10 times improvement from the 4G. And if you do a speed test, I don't know, 5G coverage in CAPT campuses or 4G coverage is almost nil, but When you are at home, perhaps you get 300 Mbps, 400 Mbps, sometimes less. So, but average should be around 100 Mbps. Even if you are onto the edge of a network, at least 100 Mbps you should get. Network should be designed for that. But if you do not have deployed, like in CAPT campus, we don't have a coverage of 5G, or for that matter 4G good coverage, so we may not get even this user experience data rate. And the last aspect of EMBB is the mobility. Mobility means when you are traveling in a train, in a bus, in a car, your mobile still works, but it cannot work in a bullet train. Bullet train may run at a speed of 400 or 500 kilometer per hour. For example, 4G can operate up to 350 kilometer per hour, but 5G can operate up to 500 kilometer per hour of speed. So 5G is kind of also designed for operating in a bullet train. Okay. So using these features, we can think of many use cases where this 5G can be utilized. Can I ask some of you that, can you now imagine that since these are the features, what kind of use cases we may have? Any one of you can respond. Yes, somebody said downloading video in a very faster way. Any other use case you may think of? Bulk messaging. Any use case which require very high data rate? Yeah, this particular conference is being sort of live casted, so that will require certain data. So if you want to say video stream this particular session in a ultra high definition, so that's one of the use case of 5G. You can have a 5G CP here, and that can give you that kind of speed, right? So the use cases can be, as somebody said, video telepresence, ultra high definition video streaming, virtual reality you might have heard about, right? So in a if you go to some of the mall, they are giving you headset and you can see a movie. Those are static, those are not dynamic, but AR, VR and XR would really be a use case, right? The other example given is a stadium. In a stadium, when football or cricket match is going on, everyone is clicking photo, video, trying to put on social media. So data rate requirement in that particular stadium is very, very huge. So you can deploy 5G, we call it small cell. 7, 8, 9, 10 number of small cell can be deployed across the stadium, and you can enjoy very, very high data rate. One more example I can give, whenever there is a live broadcast of any event by and then those new channels comes along with a big vehicle and a satellite antenna, right? In case you have a 5G coverage, they don't require that huge setup. Only a 5G mobile phone like device can live stream the event very, very in an easy way, kind of, right? So those are use cases. The second usage scenario of ultra reliable low latency communications, example which I gave was of autonomous car or a self-driving car. So what are the capability required for that? As the name suggests, first is the latency. We call it user plane latency. That means whatever data I am trying to send to you, how much time it takes to reach you. That's the latency. So can you guess what is the latency of our eyes? If I throw something, your eye blinks, right? So how much time your eyes take to blink? Can you guess? Any guess? 250 milliseconds. It varies from 200 to 300 milliseconds, average 250 milliseconds. But 5G is going to support a latency of 1 millisecond. So just you can compare the latency of our eye compared to latency of 5G, right? So suppose a machine is driving a car, that means autonomous car, a human is also driving a car. So which car is likely to collide compared, like the machine can respond in much faster way because of 1 millisecond latency compared to a human, which we have 250. So we can imagine that even autonomous car may be successful in due course, not today because a lot of technologies are getting evolved, but it will be successful even in our country. Okay, so there are other latency. The second is reliability. Yes, network has to be reliability. The last parameter is the mobility interruption. So when we move from one place to other place, actually your call is transferred from one tower to other tower and there is a gap, right? There is a pause. But in case of a 5G, that gap is 0 millisecond. Means even before your mobile phone breaks from the previous base station, it makes a connection from the next base station. Make before break kind of environment 5G supports. So what are the use cases? One use case I said about autonomous car or self-driving car. What can be other use case of URLLC? Any guess? आप में से कोई बोल सकता है? सुना होगा? Right. Correct. That can be one. Yes. Yeah, remote surgeries. Yes. Yes. So robotics, aviation, industry automation, autonomous vehicle, these are example, and there can be, we can think of many applications, right? The third is MMTC, massive machine type communication. So can you guess for a MMTC where a lot of sensors and actuators are going to be installed everywhere? For example, for agriculture in the field, there will be a lot of sensors which can measure moisture, temperature, soil quality, etc. Right? So what should be the performance parameter for that? We are talking about covering very remote part, remotest part. So coverage is one of the important parameters. Secondly, large number of devices will get connected to the network, right? So 5G supports connecting 10 lakh devices in a 1 square kilometer of area. 5G can support 10 lakh devices in a per square kilometer of area. So very huge connection density support is there in 5G, right? Energy efficiency. Why energy efficiency is very important? Yeah, very right. So those sensors would be installed in a very remotest part, right? Maybe a forest, maybe in the hill. And those will be operating from a battery, inbuilt battery, because you don't have electricity there. And battery has to last for 10 years, 5 years. You cannot replace or recharge, right, every day. So just install and forget kind of, right? So energy efficiency is very important. So 5G energy efficiency is 100 times better compared to 4G, particularly for applications like IoT. It may not be so energy efficient when you are using in your mobile phone, but when it is designed for IoT, it will be very energy efficient. And the coverage which I talked about. And applications, you can think of smart homes, smart cities, whatever devices we are now wearing, fitness devices, remote sensors, agricultural field, and so on. A lot of applications, even for your use case, border related use cases can be there, right? Drone, sensors to detect, all those can be connected on a 5G network. So these are massive kind of IoT devices. Massive number is a requirement that may not require very high data rate, right? That would only require connectivity, right? That is the coverage. But there are other types of IoT also. Whatever we talked about massive IoT, right? Where smart metering can be one example. The next category is of broadband IoT, right? So broadband IoT example can be drone. So if you have a camera fitted into drone, or maybe you have a thermal camera in the border area, thermal camera is very useful to detect any human coming or going onto the borders connected onto the 5G network. So you require a broadband connectivity, the feature of EMBB and also feature of MMTC. Both features are to be embedded into that drone. Then critical IoT. Somebody talked about remote surgery. So devices would be fitted with some sensor, right? Or industry automation. So devices or the production devices are fitted with some sort of sensors. so that it can get command from remote. So those are called critical IoT, where URLLC is one of the important parameters in addition to the MMTC. And then we have industrial automation IoT, right, where time sensitive, like sensitivity of time is very, very important. So there are various type of IoT devices, and 5G supports all up till now. So even IoT is working on 2G, 3G, and even on 4G, right? Those are mainly focused on massive IoT, where only coverage is the requirement. For example, smart metering. Smart metering, I mean, in a day, once or twice it has to send data. It only need a coverage, right? It do not need a broadband connection. Okay, so there are many technology on which IoT is working. The IoT on cellular communication, that is 2G, 3G, and 4G, is also growing very faster because networks are becoming available. So as you can see that today we have about 3 billion, right, 300 crores devices connected onto either 2G or 3G or 4G, and that is going to become 5 billion by next 2 years, right? So that means huge number of devices, machines, objects would be connected to mobile phone today, mobile network. Today only the mobile devices gets connected, right? So that's the change which is happening, and that will bring lot of threat, right? Lot of cyber threat for the network and also for we human. So let us talk about some of the key enablers in 5G technology which supports this IoT. So there are certain features I'll talk about. The first thing is the network slicing. So what happens in 5G is that 5G is 5G network you can deploy on a cloud, right? So earlier what used to be there is like the hardware and software used to be proprietary, coming from vendor like Nokia, Siemens, or Ericsson. In case of 5G, what has happened is you can buy server from any company, maybe Dell, IBM, whatever, and deploy 5G network onto that. Or you can hire a cloud service from Amazon Web Service or Google Cloud or Microsoft and deploy your 5G network. Even in your laptop, you can deploy a 5G network. A small private 5G network can be deployed even in a laptop or a desktop. Or I can deploy a private 5G network in this CAPT campus and have internal communication, right? So because of that feature, I can also partition the 5G network in different slices for different services. For example, in this example, suppose I have autonomous car kind of a service which 5G network has to support. Second is our mobile phone. Third is the smart meter reading. So what will happen is the 5G network, which consists of radio access network and core, right, will create a slice for such autonomous car, that is called V2X service, right? So whatever quality of service requirements are there for autonomous car, for example, it will require very, very good latency of 1 millisecond, right? Reliability of 99.999% and all. So all those things can be created into that slice. Similarly, I can create a slice for smartphone. I can create a slice for smart meter, and specific quality of service can be maintained within that slice. And these slices are logically separated from each other, and even you can have a different security requirement in different slices separately. If one slice gets compromised, it will not impact other slices. So those are security feature which 5G may have. This has also enabled rollout of IoT services. So whatever kind of IoT I am trying to deploy, I can create a slice, and whatever quality of service parameters are required, I can configure into that slice. So end-to-end network, virtual network I can create. The other example of slice is, suppose Jio has a 5G network and the police in our country want a dedicated separate network taken from Jio. So Geo can create a small slice for police for across the country, and you can have your own network. You can do your own operation maintenance, and whatever security you want to embed, whatever encryption you want to embed on top of that, you can do it. So those are various possibility of the network slicing feature in 5G. The other enabler is the network exposure. So this right side, what you see is the network architecture. So I'm not going to explain that in detail. What I'm trying to say, the one of the network element NEF, network exposure function, is very important for third party services. So IoT is some sort of a third party service, right? So you have an IoT server. So how to connect with the 5G network? So 5G network is connecting your IoT devices, sensors, actuators, drones, everything. But it has to be operated by an application or a service. So the network exposure function, that particular element, gives a way to connect third party services or IoT server or IoT application, so that whatever data gets generated, IoT sensors are actually emitting data, right? It may be sending you temperature, it may be sending you alarm for a disaster, and so on. So those data has to go to some server, analyzed, and some action taken, right? So network exposure function, especially in 5G, enables that. That is one of the enablers. So next enabler is a network function called NWDAF. On the right side, you can see that is nothing but network data analytics function. So once you are generating a lot of data, we need to analyze using AI ML algo. Then only we can make it meaningful to take action. So 5G has that sort of network function which can enable collecting the data and analyzing and making it useful for us. So this is another kind of IoT sense. As we know that when we take a mobile connection, normally we buy a SIM and we are inserting into our mobile phone. Nowadays, even there is a concept of eSIM. The SIM already embedded in your mobile phone, you can get a connection in that, right? Now there are concept of integrated SIM also, like the chip inside your mobile itself will have a SIM, right? Or there may be a scenario where there is no requirement of SIM. So 5G supports all these features, so that like IoT sensors, I may not be able to insert a SIM, right? That will become complex. So even without a SIM, IoT device will be able to connect to the 5G network. So that flexibility is also useful and enablers in 5G to support IoT devices. The other feature of 5G, we call it edge computing. How many of you have heard about edge computing? So can you say something about, sir? Whatever you can. Centrally, it is done onto the edge. So normally, if you look at mobile network today, so all those equipment other than base stations are at central place, right? And all the compute is happening at the central location. So your data goes to the central place and again comes. Suppose I call you a data call or a voice call. So actually it is going to the central location of that operator. In case of a Geo, it may be going to the Mumbai and again coming back to you, right? In case I have a edge computing, this may not be required to go that. Suppose I am accessing a gaming service. So gaming service can be actually installed onto the edge itself, where the resident or subscriber is there. For example, in Bhopal itself, I can run certain services so that the people accessing those services, maybe a gaming service, AR, VR, can go to the edge itself. The advantage of edge is like today our mobile phones are very heavy in terms of compute, in terms of processing power, all because a lot of compute is being done in the mobile itself. If I have an edge computing, all those compute can be transferred to the edge, or your mobile can be very lightweight in the sense that you don't need to have a very costly mobile phone, because all those compute can happen onto the edge itself, right? So that is the advantage. Other advantage is latency will improve because your data is not going to the central location and coming back. Here itself it is being routed. Suppose you are, pardon? Yes, right. So yeah, you can say that mobile is endpoint, it cannot be edge. Okay, just to make it interactive, otherwise no, it becomes very boring. Yeah. Okay, so multi-edge computing is what? Multi-edge computing is that you are putting the compute or applications at the edge of the network itself, right? So that's the architecture which is shown. Okay, this is very interesting. The 5G UV, user equipment, or a cell itself onto a drone. So it is possible, we have commercial platforms whereby you can embed 5G platform onto edge. So any drone can be converted into 5G drone, where that particular chipset developed by innovators like Qualcomm can be embedded, and you can create your own applications. So maybe Indian startup can create their own applications, and this can be very useful in the applications like border areas or other law and order situations. Even today, a lot of use of drones are happening, but today what happens is your drone runs on a line of sight. You have a remote and you maneuver that, right? But you cannot send it too far away, because unless you have a line of sight, you cannot control. But with 5G network, you can send your drone to any other very, very far away locations also, and take the input and bring back information live online, right? You don't need to wait for your communication to reach. As it is being going, it is scanning, taking pictures, video, and live feed is coming to you, and you are able to control on a computer, on a device. So that's the advantage. Not only that, the 5G cell, that means the tower itself, 5G tower itself, small tower itself can be created onto the drone, right? That means it can create a mobile coverage in an area where you don't have a mobile. Sometimes if when you go on a forward location, right, where you don't have any coverage, so you can create your own coverage for your personal, right? They can talk to each other. So that is one of the use. Then 5G cell on a wheel, this kind of environment. Even today, there are, we call it cow, right? Cell on wheel. Today also, in case of a disaster that is being deployed, it is becoming better in 5G, in the sense that when you have that particular BTS mounted on a vehicle, generally what you require is a backhaul, either microwave or fiber, then only you will be able to make call. In case of 5G, it gets connected to any other BTS nearby, and the BTS itself gives a backhaul. So you don't need a separate microwave or separate fiber connectivity for backhaul. The cell itself can create a backhaul from the previous base station. This feature is called IAB, integrated access and backhaul, in 5G, and which is very useful to create a new coverage, either in a stadium or some event or some, you can think of use cases for your security requirements, right? That in case you want to create a coverage where we don't have a mobile coverage, you can do using this particular technology, or you can ask operators to create this. 5G in a box. So basically the entire 5G network can be created in a box. This is very important for you. A 5G in a box can be taken on a backpack. It can create a network and all of you can talk to each other. So this may be a requirement for some of your operations. So you can think of the right side, whatever cables you see is a 5G in a box solution created by IIT Delhi. So they have used few servers. So they have opened the box. So few servers, card and all, and they can make a ready-made solution for you and give to you for test and trial. There are other startup also who are into this field, right? So range will depend upon the base station part. So maybe it can create a coverage of 500 meter, 1 kilometer. depending upon, because since you are putting on a backpack, you cannot have very huge power. It will operate on battery, because to create a large coverage you require more power to pump. So depending upon use cases, so maybe 500-meter, if it is line of sight, maybe it can go 1 kilometer. If it is like deep dense forest and all, maybe less, depending upon what geography we have. I think army and all is testing all these features. So some of the startup are actually doing pilots with them. So they'll be able to tell better that how much useful it is actually. Okay, so now we come to a private 5G network. These all 5G in a box or drone solution I talked about. Basically, it is, we are creating a private 5G network. We are not relying on the public network of Jio or Airtel. We are trying to create a private 5G network. And private 5G network is very useful for, LEAs, in case they have such specific requirement. For industry, for example, if I talked about creating autonomous kind of industry where all the IoT sensors are getting connected on 5G network, remotely controlled. So they may not go to a public operator, they can create their own private 5G network, right? So it's dedicated, so it's secure because it's not a public network. So security aspects are taken care of. Okay. One of the important aspect which we see is whatever coverage we have 2G, 3G, 4G, and now 5G, there is still area in a remotest part where you don't have coverage, including CAPT, we don't have much coverage, right? When we go to a sea, you don't have a mobile coverage, right? When you travel on a plane, you don't have a mobile coverage. So in 5G, what 5G is kind of evolving to integrate even satellite communications, right? The satellite will be one of the tower. We call it HAPS, high altitude platforms, right? So the area which is unserved, like sea, or underserved, like remote parts, and also service continuity in the sea and also in the aeroplane, and for multicast broadcast directly from the satellite either to the edge network or to the mobile phone itself. The satellite are getting integrated with 5G network. So these are two distinct domain. We call it terrestrial communications. Mobile is called terrestrial, and satellite is a distinct domain. They don't talk to each other, but now they are getting kind of integrated. Maybe a time will come when your phone itself can directly connect to the satellite, and same subscription, you are a suppose Airtel or Jio customer, 5G customer will be able to connect even to the satellite in an area where no other coverage is available, right? So this work is in progress, kind of standards are being made, trials are happening, and maybe it will take 3, 4, 5 years to actually commercially to become commercial available. Okay, so any questions till now? I can take 1 or 2 questions before I proceed to next topic.
तो उसका आइडेंटिफिकेशन कैसे होगा कि किस पर्टिकुलर, अब उसका तो पब्लिक नेटवर्क है नहीं, तो अगर वहां से कोई क्राइम होता है तो उसको आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए फिर क्या क्या कि वो हर्डल्स तो आएंगे सर?
बिल्कुल ठीक है। तो प्राइवेट नेटवर्क का मतलब है कि स्पेसिफिक यूज के लिए, फॉर एग्जांपल इफ विद इन CAPT यू क्रिएट ए प्राइवेट नेटवर्क फॉर योर ओन यूसेज, तो इस प्राइवेट नेटवर्क को पब्लिक एक्सेस नहीं कर पाएगा,
नॉट यूज फॉर,
हाँ, पब्लिक नेटवर्क। सिमिलरली कोई इंडस्ट्री है, मान लीजिए नोकिया की चेन्नई में फैक्ट्री है, दे आर ऑटोमेटिंग देयर फैक्ट्री यूजिंग द प्राइवेट 5G और 4G नेटवर्क। लेकिन इसके अंदर में भी प्राइवेट 4G और 5G में भी देयर आर आइडेंटिफायर्स, so all features of standard public telephony will continue to be there, but वहां पे ओनर पब्लिक नहीं है, एयरटेल नहीं है, वो खुद इरिक्सन खुद है या सीएपीटी खुद है। तो अगर सीएपीटी के अंदर कोई क्राइम होता है तो जो आपके एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर हैं या जो कर रहे हैं, दे विल बी एबल टू फाइंड आउट। जैसे यहाँ भी हम बहुत सारे वाईफाई हॉटस्पॉट लगा रखा हमने, बहुत सारे आईपी कनेक्शंस लगा रखा है, तो विल बी एबल टू ट्रेस टू सम एक्सटेंट। देयर आर टेक्नोलॉजी, so depending upon your requirement you can build your own technology, but there is a concept of even NID, the private ID का भी concept है। तो जैसे आप मोबाइल कंट्री कोड होता है, नेटवर्क कंट्री कोड होता है पब्लिक नेटवर्क में, वहाँ एक फील्ड और ऐड हो जाता है प्राइवेट नेटवर्क आईडी, हाँ उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में। लेकिन इंडिया में हमने अलाउ नहीं किया है किसी प्राइवेट नेटवर्क को टू कनेक्ट टू पब्लिक नेटवर्क, तो इट विल बी प्योर प्राइवेट नेटवर्क, जैसे आप लैन बनाते हैं या वाईफाई का नेटवर्क बना रहे हैं उसी तरीके से। ओके, या प्लीज।
Sir, I'm PIG Rana. I'm from ITVP. Sir, on the Chinese border, we are exposed to technology which is PLA is targeting us with. So current situation is that जो अपने मोबाइल फोन्स हैं हमारे उसमें ही बॉर्डर एरिया में जाते नेटवर्क हमारा उनका नेटवर्क टेक ओवर कर जाता है विदाउट एनी सेटिंग्स। आप जाइए उस एरिया में तो वो कर लेते हैं। तो विद सच टेक्नोलॉजी कमिंग इन, our exposure to their technology, and they are currently, I believe, they are ahead of us in this. So इसमें हम security कैसे build up करेंगे in that scenario, sir?
Right. So very right question, and you know better than me that we also, because their signals are coming towards us, we are also able to intrude into their system and do certain. So we are also kind of so it's like advantage and disadvantage both, and they are also doing like. But whatever critical things we have, whatever critical communication we have, we must have our own some sort of arrangement that they are not able to intercept us, all those critical aspects. Public thing we may not be able to public may be using a Nepal network on the border area, or Nepalis would be using Indian network. So okay, but as far as the critical communication of our LEAs and other entities are concerned, we must work out that we have our own safe network, either using some sort of end-to-end encryption and all. So we must do it, and there are some pilot going on in China border I'm aware of, so I don't think I should yeah, thank you. Okay, so the next, since a lot of feature or capability 5G may have, so it will also bring certain security challenges or risk. So before I move to the next slide, can I ask you that what do you think, because of 5G, what kind of risk or the security challenge we may face? कोई guess हो या कोई कहना चाहते हैं? So one is not security but health hazard, ma'am has talked about. I'll answer your question. So okay, any? Yeah, personal data would be more exposed compared to whatever we have today. Deployment of botnets, yes. So a lot of threat would come which will use the features of 5G, and we have to gear up. So those are risks which you talked about relates to the end user. But before that, I have to secure the 5G network itself. Before that, I have to ensure the 5G network itself. So whatever you see on the screen is a framework of security architecture given by ITU. And this is applicable to all kind of network, not only 5G. It is applicable to all IT or ICT or telecom network. So what it is saying onto the left side is that you have three planes. One is the end user plane, then you have the control plane and management plane, right? End user is that where end user data flows, then all the signaling in the second plane and management and orchestration in the third plane. In all the three plane, I have three kind of security environment. One is the infrastructure security, the physical security, routers, switches and all. Then you have services security and then applications, because a lot of third party applications would also run. So these are different security layers. And what are the different dimensions? There are 8 dimensions which ITU has defined, starting from access control. So the access of a 5G infrastructure should be with authorized personnel only. So I mean, nobody else should be able to access and use or misuse. Second is the authentication. This authentication is within the network and even interaction with user equipment and the network. For example, there are many network functions within the 5G itself. One network function talks to the other network functions. So there also authentication and authorization is very important. When a user equipment is connecting to the network, there also authentication is required. Otherwise, there can be rogue user equipment talking to the network and misusing that. The third is, we call it non-repudiation. What is non-repudiation? Any guess? Non-repudiation. If I do a crime and you catch me, I should not be able to deny. There should be some proof or log. I should not be able to deny, right? So non-repudiation. So in case of a 5G, what I'm talking about is, suppose you do some configurational changes into the network, right? So it will be in a way that if you have done something wrong, you will be identified and you may not be able to deny. For example, if you do something after biometric authentication, you cannot deny that I have not done. So that is non-repudiation. So system should be in place for that. Then data has to be, when you transfer data from one place to other place, from user equipment to the core or core to the user, it has to be confidential, right? How I can maintain that data remains confidential? What are the technique called? Ciphering, encryption, right? So you use end-to-end encryption whenever there is a data transfer. That can be for user data, that can be for control, that can be even for management, right? The next is communication security. The communication network which you create has to be secure. Then data integrity. What is data integrity or integrity in that sense? Yeah. बहुत अच्छा, very right. So when you send a data from A to B, कोई बीच में इंट्रूड करके डेटा चेंज ना कर दे. अगर मैं कोई चीज लिख के भेज रहा हूँ नॉट अप्रूव्ड और किसी ने नॉट हटा दिया है अप्रूव्ड, सो द एंटायर मीनिंग गेट चेंज. एंड हाउ दैट इज पॉसिबल? व्हाट इज द एग्जांपल ऑफ दैट? आप चिट्ठी लिखते हैं तो सिग्नेचर करते हैं ना. So some sort of digital signature, right? You do. So if you tamper the content, the other party will come to know that the whatever data he has received is actually tampered. So that is your data integrity. Availability and privacy, right? My private information should not be exposed when I am using the network, right? So so considering all these points, what are different areas where 5G can be vulnerable? I mean, vulnerability comes in 5G. The first and foremost thing is, because of IoT, a large number of IoT will get connected. So threat surface is very huge. और ज्यादातर क्या होगा, ये unsupervised जगहों पे होंगे. If somebody is able to access your network through those IoT sensors, so they can even, I mean, do kind of DOS attack. Have you heard about DOS? Yeah. Denial of service, right? So huge number of ping or call will come to your network and your network may get collapsed. Genuine user may not be able to access, right? So that is one of the threat. So we have to take care while designing a network. The network operators have to take care of all these aspects. The second, I talked about that in 5G, the network functions are virtualized. NFV, network function virtualization we call it, and can be deployed on cloud. So whatever IT security I'm supposed to manage in a IT network, now I am also supposed to manage that in a telecom network. पहले टेलीकॉम में आईटी सिक्योरिटी की जरूरत नहीं होती थी because of isolated boxes which you had. Now, since the network are being deployed on a public infrastructure or cloud infrastructure, those becomes very important. The third is edge computing, right? A lot of compute is also happening at the edge, and large number of edge would be there. So that will also add to the security aspect. Network slicing we talked about. One important aspect onto the radio side, the tower side today, is now the concept of disaggregated radio access network. The earlier we had a single box, एक tower होता था, उसके नीचे एक box होता था. Now that is divided into three parts. That is radio unit, distributed unit, and central unit. And such devices would be large in number. तो जो DU तक होगा वो unsupervised location. So there is also security threat. So while designing such system, although appropriate measures have been taken, but those are still a threat surface. More number of SIs, system integrators, since now network is open, anybody can create a network component. So one network may consist of network elements from many vendors. So there is a question of trusted source also, like from whom you are buying the equipment. Are you buying it from a Chinese vendor or from other vendor, whether that vendor itself is trusted, whatever framework we have, whether that's being followed or not. Those are the aspects. And then the private network I talked about, some challenge. So to take care of all these possible vulnerability in 5G, time का बता दीजिएगा अगर कुछ है. It's okay, no? Okay. Right? So standards have been made by 3GPP, third generation partnership project, which has taken care of the security aspect. So there are many standards onto that. The only thing as an operator or as a DOT guy, I have to ensure that whatever network are being deployed in our country are actually compliant to those standards. So if it is just on paper, it's of no use. So unless those are actually implemented onto the network. So starting from the device itself. So normally what we have seen is that we insert a SIM card into our device. So basically the SIM is the trust anchor. I talked about requirement of authentication, right? Or ciphering or data integrity. So what happens, the security key using which you have to encrypt the data, your device has to encrypt the data or do a data integrity compliance, are stored onto your SIM card. Your SIM card is very, very important. If you have compromised your SIM card, then anything can happen. The corresponding key in the network lies onto a network component called Unified Data Management, UDM. So same key, because if I encrypt something, has to be decrypted at other end, right? So the secure keys, so the design of the SIM is such that it's a trust anchor and it is some sort of foolproof, that unless physically you are able to hand it over your SIM to somebody else. This is very important. So the security aspect of the entire, the picture which you see is, they call it trust model. So 3GPP trust model. So outer equipment, example, I talked about radio access network, that is DU, which will be installed in an unsupervised location. So the design of DU technically is such that no user data can be exposed. Nobody can actually open the user data at the DU level, right? That means even interception would not be possible at the DU level. You have to go inside. So you can see onion-like structure, that more you go inside, it is more secure. Okay, so DU is like, there are other connectivity I talked, like For example, you might have seen in your 4G network that sometime when you call, it says that calling using Wi-Fi. How many of you have experienced? Wi-Fi se voice call jati hai, yes. So that means Wi-Fi is not coming from 3GPP family. So basically it's connecting non-3GPP access, untrusted non-3GPP access. So for that also they have a system called N3IWF, non-3GPP interworking frame. So access into the 5G network is through that. So there also some security aspects are taken care, right? The core network, there is a network function called AMF, access and mobility function. For all control signaling of your user device, the core network is through AMF. So there also we have a function called SCAF, security anchor function, so that all those security aspects are taken care. So what I'm trying to say is that in standard, all those aspects are taken care in the design. The only thing I have to, or operators have to take care is that they see compliance of those standards while they deploy the network to make their network secure. Now the next is about your requirement of interception. So since now 5G network is in place, have you faced any problem related to interception compared to 4G or 3G, or it's happening seamlessly? I think it is happening seamlessly because it has been ensured that even if, I mean, whatever complexity the network have, the interception is as seamless as it was in 4G and 3G. That you have one interconnection point. And for India, we have created a different system called CMS. So you only need to plug into CMS system, or if you have your own equipment, LEMF, and want to connect directly, that is also possible technically, and it's happening seamlessly. So only thing which you may require is that in 5G, the volume of data would be very high. Volume of data would be very high. So whatever bandwidth of pipe which you have created may require to be augmented to support. अगर आपको पूरा data चाहिए होता है parallel, so that pipe has to be increased. That can only be changed. And there are certain other metadata available in the 5G network. If you want to take that also as interception, you need to decode that. तो वो आपको अपने यहाँ आपके सिस्टम में थोड़े सॉफ्टवेयर चेंजेस हो सकते हैं, लेकिन जो आज इंटरसेप्शन करते हैं उसके लिए आपको कोई चेंज की जरूरत नहीं है. You have seen it practically having 5G network in our country. Okay, so with this, okay, I have third part of question. If you have a third part of the presentation, if you have any question, take. Okay, so let me proceed. Now I'm talking about some of the steps which is being taken by DOT, Department of Telecom, to curb those cyber crime that not only relates to 5G but any mobile technology, 4G or 3G. As we discussed initially, that most of the cyber crime which is happening or fraud happening is happening using a mobile phone. So generally, whenever we used to get a mobile number that this mobile number was involved in a cyber crime, and when we were checking that particular mobile phone, so normally what will happen is that we will find that the fellow has given proper proof of ID and proof of address, and we were not able to take action of disconnecting that, right? Normally you have to take action and also disconnect such numbers. So since he had taken on a genuine, I mean, it used to feel that it's a genuine connection, because whatever way fake POI PO was created, it was not possible to check unless you go back to, suppose if he has given a PAN card, then you go to the PAN authority and verify it and so on. So lengthy process, right? So that was a problem. To solve this problem, what DOT has done is they have created a tool called Astra. This is artificial intelligence and machine learning based tool, you may be aware of. So now what is happening, if DOT is getting one number that this particular number has done certain cyber crime, we are able to run that particular tool onto the database of the entire telephone connections of 130 crore and able to come out the linkages. For example, this is a case. There was one number given by LEA, right? So when we run that particular algo onto the entire data set, basically it is based on face, checking the face into the entire database and demographic deduplication and certain other logic. We found that there are 100 SIMs in 76 names. The person is same. You can see the person is same, but they have manipulated their POI in a way, and male, sometime female. So Astra tool detected that one person has taken 100 SIM, 76 names, male and female, and all these SIMs were used for fraudulent activities, cyber crime, right? So see this example. We got 4 numbers. This is just an example from NCRP portal, National Crime Reporting Portal. Those numbers, names were given like this, right? When we run these data onto the entire database, what we found that there are 40 more linkages. That means total 44 such mobile connections are available into the network, right? So just to, eliminate the fraudulent connection which are there into the system, what we tried doing is that we tried doing analysis on the entire database on our own without having to be given any clue. So what we found that in 130 crore database, using our algo, about 67 lakh connections were suspended. So the tool identified 67 lakh connections that may be fraudulent, that tool says. Then we have field unit, like we call it LSA, license service area offices in every state. So we gave that to our LSA and asked them to re-verify through the operators. Physically check or whatever way check. So after that process, about 56 lakh connections were actually found to be not following POA norms, and they were given in a fake connection, right? So those were actually disconnected after re-verification. It's a clean exercise. And then like those POS from where you get connection, right? POS locations from where you get connection, they were also identified that there were only a small number of POS from where these fraudulent connections were being given. So they were also kind of blacklisted. A lot of FIRs were filed, 300 plus FIR were filed involving 1890 such POS fellows. So this is a one-time exercise we had done, and we would be actually repeating it. And also whatever numbers is coming to Department of Telecom from that particular portal, National Crime Reporting Portal, or from the LEA, those are being separately analyzed and some results are being thrown. So some tool has been generated, and even our minister has said that we'll be able to eliminate to very, very large extent. So with this, thank you so much, and maybe for discussion or any further question, I am available. So any question? Achha, one question I want to, yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Coming to
yeah, आवाज आ रही है, आप बोल सकते हैं.
Okay, so these days now Aadhaar is a digital identity. It has to be verified by OTP or biometrics. But SIM cards are being issued just by looking at the Xerox copy of the Aadhaar. So if biometrics is implemented, then we can help stop issuing of the fraudulent SIM cards. So any progress on this thing, sir?
So very good point. So if you remember, during earlier days, DOT had mandated this Aadhaar KYC for new connections and older connection seeding of the Aadhaar number. But at that period of time, Supreme Court had actually struck down, saying that for 0.5% of crime you want to trouble 100% of the population. That was their judgment. But recent the act, Telecommunication Act, which is passed 2023, has a provision for biometric identification of subscriber. Maybe once that comes into force, we'll be able to start that again. I want to answer ma'am question about health hazard ma'am was asking about. So let me first tell you that what are the health hazard related to radiation, right? So there are two kind of radiation. One we call it ionized radiation, and other is non-ionized radiation, right? Non-ionizing radiation and ionizing radiation. So ionizing radiation, if you are exposed to, it may alter our DNA structure, and that may lead to cancer and other diseases. But the good thing is that telecommunications per se, whatever spectrum we are using, those are coming into non-ionizing spectrum. So the first point is that it is not the ionizing radiation which has harm, like alpha, beta, gamma rays you may be heard of. Those are very problem. But even non-ionizing radiation may have some health hazard. I'll give you one example. Whether fire is a hazard or not. Normal fire is a hazard or not? Normally it is not. When you use fire in a controlled way, it's not a hazard. Similar is the radiation, that if we are using in a controlled way, the way we are doing today, it is not harmful, right? So only effect of non-ionizing radiation on us is the heating. You might have noticed that if you talk for a longer time, the heating effect comes, right? So you can always take care of that. And as far as radiation is concerned, there are standard international norms, how much power can be radiated from a tower, how much power your mobile device can radiate. Those are all regulated. In mobile, you can check your SAR value, right? There are ways you can check whether it's in limit or not. Don't buy equipment which do not have the SAR value certified. Normally onto sticker also SAR values are there. And mobile tower and all, we are taking care of that, how much power it can radiate. There are system in place. And in case you have a doubt that in your home some power, radiation is higher, you can always request a measurement of radiation at your home or any place by paying a fee of 5,000 rupees. The DOT field fellow will come measure in front of you, right? So we actually measure radiation from the tower and certify before those goes live. There are ways we do it. So we are taking care of making in a control environment, radiation happening in a control environment, so that there is no health hazard. And our norms are 1/10 of international norm. That is, we have taken abundant precaution compared to even international norms. And as such, there is no problem even in 5G related to radiation. Any more question from anybody?
Sir, how do you see the ability of the 5G? 5G, we can operate in high mobility equipment, be it a car, in a vehicle. Does it have an impact on locating the accused or whosoever it is? Or we can easily locate the person because 5G is there?
Right. So all of us know, I think you guys are knowing that today the location which you get is the cell ID, right? आपको क्या मिलता है? सेल आईडी मिलता है किसी बंदे का, इससे ज्यादा लोकेशन नहीं मिलता है। और फिर उससे थोड़ा ये आइडिया लग जाता है कि कितने किलोमीटर दूर था वो, 2.5 किलोमीटर दूर था, 1 किलोमीटर दूर था। सो योर एक्यूरेसी इज इन किलोमीटर्स और 500 मीटर एंड सो ऑन टुडे। With 5G, since we would also be deploying the higher spectrum band, millimeter wave also, right? So once we have deployed the higher frequency, the radius will decrease, the accuracy of location will improve. In case I have deployed 26 gigahertz spectrum, which operators have actually taken and that mobile was in a location where he has coverage of that. So even you can get a accuracy of centimeters. Accuracy up to centimeter would be possible. Rather, this feature is very useful in the industry. Normally, when you go inside a basement, GPS do not work. Whereas industry is actually requiring positioning for their automated vehicle and all inside the factory. So there they would be installing certain trans receive of 5G network, and they'll be able to precisely locate a particular device. Same feature in a public network would be possible, that we can triangulate and tell you that the location of the person or the object, whatever, to a great precision going forward, not today. Today, whatever deployment of 5G has happened in India is on 3.5 gigahertz, the mid band. That may not give you that accuracy, that can give you 500, 200 meter of accuracy. But once millimeter waves are also installed and your target is in that area, so the location would be within centimeter or 1 meter kind of. एक कोई और पूछ रहा था इधर से. Yeah, okay. Right. Okay. The first question, if I heard correctly, was talking about two type of rollout in 5G, right? So there are two kinds of rollout. One is called NSA, non-standalone, and other kind of deployment is SA, standalone. Across the globe, most of the deployment are NSA, non-standalone. So in our country, Airtel has done NSA mode and Jio has done SA mode. In non-standalone mode, what happens is that Jio was already having a 4G network, right? So using the 4G core itself, they just deployed 5G radio. The standards were made initially that the 5G radio through 4G core can have a network. So it was very, very faster way of rolling out across the globe. When I say SA, that means not only radio, but you have to also build core of 5G separately, which Reliance did. So Reliance have a separate 4G network and a separate 5G network, completely standalone 5G network. So the three usage scenario I talked about, EMBB, URLLC and MMTC, NSA mode will only support EMBB. Only the SA mode can support all the three scenarios and you can build use cases. Now you ask about what can be possible use cases for law enforcement agencies. So basically the 5G can become your eyes. Suppose if you deploy a live 5G cameras or the drones, right? So you are getting live feed all the time. And in case you are able to connect to the backend AI ML kind of scenario, so you can, do a lot of insight. For example, you might have heard about onto the airport, they have installed many cameras, right? And they are taking videos, and one of the application is like if they are seeing a crowd on a particular like immigration in a particular area, they're able to analyze automatically and increase number of counters. Alerts are coming that increase the counter, decrease the counter, or if somebody is fraudulent, the automated system is analyzing and then reflecting you useful. Correct. So we can think of, suppose there is some area which is very, very sensitive. We may have such solutions that it is monitoring and we have some automation done so that हम खाली कंट्रोल रूम में देख के कर नहीं सकते, वो देखते ही रहते हैं, कोई एक्शन ज्यादा नहीं हो पाता है. But if I have some system which is analyzing and throwing some input, then we get some alert SMS that something is happening. So इस तरह के use case I think of surveillance. Yes, why not? Yes. Yeah. Right.
body worn cameras.
Okay, so one thing which I didn't cover is like, what is the requirement of LEAs in terms of communication? Is one is that your walkie-talkie, no, that you push to talk kind of environment. Push to talk, many of you would be using, and you have a separate system for that. 5G also support push to talk, right? So you can actually get it configured, and it will all services of PTT would work. Not only push to talk voice, it also supports data and video. In case of a disaster and all, voice and data is also supported in the standard. The commercial deployment may not be there because there is a cost involved. So if you push or if you pay something to the operators, they may build network for us. So that kind of environment. Second is, suppose I give one example. Suppose there is fire in a particular building, okay, and responders are inside for help. Many a times you want to know location of the responder so that you can send second person and all. So because of 5G features, like one is I told that UV on a drone, uh, the BTS on a drone, IAB on a drone. So if I deploy multiple number, I can triangulate and know the exact location in a centimeter, and then perhaps I can take more action. Even though, I mean, if somebody is struck and he has a mobile phone and I know the number, so at least I can triangulate and know the location and help him. So those can be some of the use cases going forward possible.
तो उसमें क्या मेजर्स हम लोग कर सकते हैं? बिकॉज ये कि एजुकेशन अगर गांव की बात करें तो वहाँ इतना नहीं है, तो टेलीकॉम का लाइक वी शुड नॉट शेयर द OTPs एंड वी शुड नॉट गो टू एनी लिंक जो आ रहा है, तो उसमें कैसे मतलब इतना ज़्यादा हो जाता है कि कैसे अवेयरनेस को वहाँ पे करें? बार ईच एंड एवरी टाइम हम लोग बोलते हैं OTP पे आप नहीं, OTP ना डालें या लिंक आप ना करें, बट उसके है कि क्यों ये लास्ट में मैसेज नहीं आता दैट यू आर गोइंग टू, मतलब आपका जो अकाउंट है वहाँ से इतना पैसा डिडक्ट हो रहा है, जो लास्ट में लाइक जब भी हम हमारा पिन डालते हैं, कुछ भी अगर परचेसिंग करते हैं तो पिन डालते हैं तो लास्ट में मैसेज आता है कि ये आर यू श्योर कि आपको ये करना है। तो ऐसे लास्ट टाइम जब भी ऐसे फेक OTPs आते हैं या लिंक्स आते हैं तो वहाँ पर वो लास्ट जो है वो क्यों नहीं आ पाता है कोई भी मैसेज?
तो वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन मैम। ज़्यादातर फ्रॉड एक्चुअली पैसा ही जाता है, कोई भी, चाहे वो जॉब वाली हो, KBC में लॉटरी लग गया हो, बेसिकली दे आर ट्रैपिंग अस, या दिन में ऑनलाइन कमाए एंड ऑल, सो दैट काइंड ऑफ कॉल यू गेट, एंड फाइनली व्हाट यू डू, आइदर यू शेयर योर OTP, या वो कहते हैं ये वाला ऐप इंस्टॉल कर लीजिए, कस्टमर केयर ऐप है, बेसिकली वो मिररिंग ऐप है, जो आपके मोबाइल में आपको दिख रहा है उसको भी दिखने लगता है, या कोई ऐसा ऐप इंस्टॉल हो जाता है जिससे आपका SMS उनको फॉरवर्ड हो जाता है, तो आप शेयर नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो हिडन ऐप आ गया और आपसे वो शेयर कर लेते हैं। सो इस टाइप के क्राइम में एक्चुअली फाइनली आपका बैंक ही खाली होता है। और हमारा जो एनालिसिस अभी आपने देखा वो ये है कि ये सारे काम हो रहे हैं क्योंकि वो सिम ले पा रहा है इजी तरीके से, फ्रॉडुलेंट तरीके से। So the एक exercise which DOT is trying to do is trying to eliminate such fake connections by this Astra tool, and we have a some second version. We are kind of creating a DIU unit, digital intelligence unit, which will connect to all of you, and also there will be front end. You might have heard about Sanchar Sathi portal of DOT. How many of you know Sanchar Sathi? Okay. So I request all of you that it's very helpful and useful even for LEAs like you. Sanchar Sathi portal is an integrated portal for many things. One of the feature is called TACCOP. इसमें आप पता कर सकते हैं कि आपके नाम पे कितने मोबाइल चल रहे हैं, और आप वहाँ पे रिक्वेस्ट दे सकते हैं कि ये मेरा मोबाइल नहीं है, या ये मोबाइल मेरा था लेकिन मैं बंद करना चाहती हूँ, तो बाकी हम बैकएंड से वी टेक केयर ऑफ एवरीथिंग. So there is, it's very useful. The another thing is about lost mobile. अगर आपका मोबाइल खो जाता है तो आप वहाँ जब रिपोर्ट कर देंगे तो बेस्ड ऑन IMEI नंबर ऑफ योर मोबाइल वी आर एबल टू ब्लॉक, उस फोन को कोई यूज करेगा कभी भी तो वी आर एबल टू ट्रैक एंड ब्लॉक दैट फोन और हम आपके थ्रू उस बंदे को पकड़ भी पा रहे हैं। सॉर्ट ऑफ वी आर एबल टू फाइंड, आई मीन हमें लॉस्ट मोबाइल मिल भी जाता है और सम एक्शंस भी होता है, तो वो एक पोर्टल है। ऐसे करके देयर आर मेनी अदर सर्विसेज। द फ्रंट एंड सिटीजन सेंट्रिक है, उसका बैक एंड हम एलईए के सपोर्ट के लिए, बैक एंड में सिस्टम्स फॉर एलईए सपोर्ट है। अगर आप कहेंगे तो इसके ऊपर हम लोग कभी अलग से एक पूरा सेशन कर सकते हैं सीएपीटी में। अगर कभी आप चाहें तो हमारी जो डीआईयू यूनिट है वो 4-5 घंटे का सेशन कभी आप करना चाहें ऑनलाइन या ऑफलाइन, सो विल ऑफर दैट सो दैट यू आर अवेयर कि आप क्या कर सकते हैं।
डिडक्ट हो रहा है, तो ये वाला जैसे हम बैंकिंग सेक्टर्स का या टेलीकॉम का ऐसा कुछ हो जाए कि लास्ट में आपने भले ही शेयर कर लिया, भले ही आपने लिंक पे आप चले गए, सारा कुछ हो गया, बट जो लास्ट इज व्हेन अमाउंट इज गोइंग टू डिडक्टेड फ्रॉम योर अकाउंट, तो वो वाला जो अमाउंट है वो लास्ट में डिडक्ट होने से पहले एक अलर्ट मैसेज वो नहीं आ पाता है कि आपने करा और सडनली अमाउंट डिडक्ट हो गया?
जनरली तो आता है जब भी पैसा डिडक्ट होता है तो
नहीं
आता है।
सर, जो फ्रॉड्स हो रहे हैं सर उसमें।
just a moment, let me try to answer. So as long as you have access to your mobile which is there in your bank account, normally we are getting alert. Problem is कि कुछ ऐसे भी केसेस हैं जिससे वो क्या करता है कि एक जो ई सिम वाला फ्रॉड है, आपका नंबर अपने ई सिम में कर लेता है। आपसे फ्रॉड ये कराता है कि आप कुछ शेयर करते हैं पर उसके मोबाइल के ई सिम में आपका नंबर चलने लगता है, तो अलर्ट आप पे नहीं आएगा, राइट। दूसरा इसी तरह का है कि समहाउ वो सिम, फिजिकल सिम भी इशू करा लेता है अपने नाम पे, आपका वाला सिम अपने नाम पे अगर वो करा लेता है तब आप जो है आपको एसएमएस आएगा नहीं, वो तो उसी को आ रहा है। अदरवाइज इफ यू हैव एक्सेस टू योर मोबाइल नंबर विच यू हैव गिवन इन योर बैंक, वी आर गेटिंग दोज अलर्ट्स, वी आर गेटिंग दोज अलर्ट्स। बट फिर भी अवेयरनेस की जरूरत है। और इसमें और क्या किया जा सकता है कि बैंक्स को जनरली मैंने अपना ईमेल आईडी भी दिया है, तो सारे अलर्ट्स मेरे को ईमेल पे भी आते हैं। तो अगर आप मोबाइल के साथ आप इंश्योर करें कि आप अपने बैंक में एक ईमेल आईडी भी डालें, कि जितने भी आपके ट्रांजेक्शन है, मेरे को तो आता है, आई हैव एक्सिस बैंक अकाउंट, तो उसमें तो आता है, ईमेल पे आता है। तो अगर मेरा मोबाइल कंप्रोमाइज भी हो गया तो एटलीस्ट आई कैन सी ऑन ईमेल समथिंग हैपनिंग एंड आई कैन रिपोर्ट। तो ये है कि आप थोड़ा मल्टीपल चैनल्स भी खोल लें जिससे कि आपको अलर्ट आता रहे। बट अवेयरनेस की कमी है, ये फैक्ट है मैम, और हमें और अवेयर करने। सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि हाउ फास्ट वी आर एबल टू ट्रेस। एक और सर्विस है एमएचए रन करता है कि अगर आपका पैसा निकल रहा है और आप उसे रिपोर्ट कर देते हैं जितनी जल्दी, तो वो ट्रांजेक्शन को रोक लेते हैं। देयर आर सिस्टम ऑलरेडी रनिंग बाय एमएचए, यू माइट हैव हर्ड। एक उनका टोल फ्री नंबर है, उस पर कॉल करके अगर इमीडिएट बताते हैं तो यू आर एबल टू स्टॉप दैट ट्रांजेक्शन, बट जल्दी करना होता है। इन मोस्ट केसेस दे आर एबल टू रिवॉर्ड दोज ट्रांजेक्शन, जब तक वो बैंकिंग सिस्टम में रहता है आपके तक वापस आ जाता है। तो मोडस ऑपरेंडी पता नहीं आप लोग ज्यादा जानते हैं, मैं थोड़ा बताता हूँ। मोडस ऑपरेंडी क्या है, उन्होंने रोग वैलेट्स क्रिएट कर रखे हैं लाखों की संख्या में, और सब में वो 5-5 रुपए मान लो उन्होंने 1 लाख गायब किया, सब में 500-500 डाल दिया। अब यू एज ए एलईए कैन यू रीच आउट टू 1 लाख फेलोज टू इन्वेस्टिगेट एंड उनको आप जेल में बंद कर रहे हो? आपके लिए वो चैलेंज है, वो चैलेंज। तो इसमें क्या है कि जो हम फर्स्ट एंड पे खाता खोलते हैं, चाहे वैलेट का हो या अगर वो वहां पे फ्रॉड हो रहे हैं, वहां फेक क्रिएट हो रहे हैं, तो आप ट्रेस भी नहीं कर पाते कि किसका है। उसके अंडरलाइन जो पीओ है अगर फेक है, उसने एड्रेस ऐसे जगह का दिया है तो जंगल है ही नहीं बंदा, आप कैसे पकड़ोगे? जैसे आप एक वैलेट क्रिएट कर लो फ्रॉडुलेंट नाम पे और आप में आ रहा पैसा, और एग्रीमेंट क्या है आपके साथ कि आप 500 में से 100 रखते हो, 400 वापस उसको कर देते हो। इस तरह का मॉडस ऑपरेंडी है। आई गॉट ए कॉल, अ फ्रॉडुलेंट कॉल, तो मैंने ऐसे ही बोला कि मैं भी आप ही का आदमी हूँ। तो बोला कि ठीक है, आप अकाउंट नंबर दीजिए, हम आपको पैसा दे देंगे। सो दैट काइंड ऑफ, आई मीन, modus operandi they have. अब ये तो बड़ा, अब इसमें ज्यादातर क्या क्राइम क्या है कि आपको एक वीडियो कॉल आता है, आपसे कहा जाता है कि आप मतलब यू शो योर प्राइवेट पार्ट्स एंड ऑल, एंड बाद में आपको ब्लैकमेल करते हैं। नोएडा में तो 11 लाख एक्सटॉर्ट कर लिया। तो एक तो एज ए ह्यूमन थोड़ा रेस्ट्रेन कितना कर सकते हैं वो है इंपॉर्टेंट। दूसरा, अगर वो थ्रेटन कर रहा है कि पब्लिक में डाल देगा, तो थोड़ा यू ऑल्सो बिकम, जो करना है कर लो, मैं तो नहीं देता टाइप से, या यू रिपोर्ट टू एलियस। तो इसमें ये चूंकि ये प्राइवेट कन्वर्सेशन होता है और उसमें फिर ये एक्सटॉर्शन हो रहे हैं और बहुत हो रहे हैं। हाँ, ये बिल्कुल सही है।
ये बहुत ही पॉपुलर रहा। 17 दिन एक लड़की को डिजिटली अरेस्ट किया गया सर। ये
आप देखिए, मैं एक और एग्जांपल देता हूँ। आई डोंट नो परवेज जी, टाइम है ना आपके पास? ओके। तो मेरे ब्रदर इन लॉ नोएडा में रहते हैं, उनको कॉल आया कि मैं मुंबई पुलिस से बोल रहा हूँ और आपका आधार मिसयूज हुआ है और उससे फ्रॉड्स हुए हैं, हम आपसे वीडियो पे बात करना चाहते हैं। तो उनको स्काइप पे वीडियो कॉल होता है, वहां से एक पुलिस ऑफिसर के ड्रेस में बंदा आता है और उनसे बातचीत करता है कि आपका यही आधार नंबर है, आपका ये अकाउंट आपका है या नहीं है। वो नहीं है तो ये फ्रॉडलेंट हो गया, उससे बहुत फ्रॉड हुआ है, हम अब पुलिस आएगी अरेस्ट करने और ऐसे करके बातचीत होती है। ठीक है। तो उसके बाद उन्होंने ट्राई का नाम लिया, कुछ कुछ उन्होंने नाम लिया। तो मेरे ब्रदर इन लॉ ने मुझे वापस फोन किया उसी समय कि मेरे साथ ऐसा ऐसा हो रहा है। उसके बाद से मुझे क्लियर हो गया कि ट्राई ऐसा कुछ करता नहीं, तो ये फ्रॉड है। मैंने बोला आगे कोई कम्युनिकेट ना करो, ब्लॉक कर दीजिए। 3 दिन बाद न्यूज में था कि नोएडा में किसी से 11 लाख ऑलरेडी एक्सटॉर्ट कर लिया उन्होंने इन द नेम ऑफ डिजिटल अरेस्ट एंड ऑल। तो ये हमें सतर्क रहने की जरूरत है, पब्लिक को सतर्क, क्योंकि रोज नए टाइप के फ्रॉड लेके आते हैं। लेकिन पीछे में वही है कि मोबाइल नंबर कहीं ना कहीं फ्रॉडुलेंट है। आजकल फॉरेन मोबाइल नंबर भी यूज हो रहा है, आपको बहुत सारा हेलो हाय करके आता है और वो नंबर +62 +65 होता है। तो अवेयरनेस कैन ओनली एक्चुअली, जैसे जैसे हम इंडिया में ब्लॉक कर रहे हैं, नंबर्स को पकड़ रहे हैं, तो अब नाउ दे आर गोइंग टू अदर कंट्रीज सिम एंड ऑल। वर्चुअल नंबर्स का भी प्रॉब्लम है, जिसमें वो वर्चुअल नंबर ले लेते हैं। इंडिया में तो बैन है, इलीगल है, लेकिन बाहर से तब भी ले पा रहे हैं। तो हाँ, so we basically, awareness is the answer for these type of fraud. काफी देखिए, एक राउंड में काफी कर दिया।
ये
दूसरा
ज्यादातर जैसे भरतपुर एरिया जितना से एक्सटॉर्शन के नंबर सबने ट्रेस किए हैं।
वो हमने भी मैपिंग जीआईएस मैपिंग करके आपने देखा कि आपने एक पिक्चर देखा हो, ये वाला। तो हमने ये मैप करा हुआ है कि किस एरिया से किस तरह के फ्रॉड आते हैं। तो फिजिकली भी कोई एक्शन लेना है आपको तो आप ले सकते हैं। इस तरह की एनालिसिस करके हमने ये तो स्टेट वाइज ही बनाया हुआ, हर स्टेट का बनाया हुआ है। जैसे झारखंड के एक एरिया से जो बैंकिंग फ्रॉड होता था, आपको ध्यान होगा, आजकल हरियाणा में कुछ एरिया एक्टिव हुआ है। तो ये चीज़ें इसकी जो जीआईएस मैपिंग भी हम कर पा रहे हैं वस्त्रा टूल से। तो अपने स्टेट का, अपने एरिया का आपको जानना है तो हमारे डीओटी यूनिट से आप संपर्क करें, विल बी एबल टू हेल्प यू टू ग्रेट एक्सटेंट। तो आप कोई फिजिकल एक्शन भी ले सकते हैं।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू। So thank you so much for listening to me and such a interactive session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your excellent deliberation on 5G technology. And you have also given some case related with Astra analysis and informed us about digital intelligence unit, Sanchar Sathi portal, and the features of TAPCOP, etc. Now, as a token of remembrance, I would like to invite Rana Yudhvir Singh, sir, DIG from ITBP, to present our memento to sir as a token of remembrance, sir. Now moving on to next part of this national conference, I would like to invite Dr. Praveen Lalwani ji for taking session on AI and its challenges. Praveen Lalwani ji, please come over the stage.
Session is related to the AI language. Yeah, thanks. Fine. So my today's session is related to the AI language models, chatbots, generative AI, new legal challenges, and responsible AI. Right. So we will talk something about AI today, and so I don't want to go with the overview of AI. I wanted to go some deep insight related to AI, by the help of which you can get the knowledge about the AI and things what AI nowadays do. Generally, AI is the artificial intelligence. It's mimic the human behavior. So so nowadays what AI is doing, it mimics the human behavior. So AI is nothing. It's mimic the human behavior. It's AI only. So nowadays, in the website, you are thinking about the chat box, and what about the generative AI? So now new technology, they have advanced the AI to the generative AI. अब ये generative AI है क्या, अपन लोग बात करेंगे थोड़ा बहुत इसके बारे में, right? Initially, at the time of ours in the schooling, we wanted to create one presentation. So we have to sit throughout the night and create the presentation. But nowadays the generative AI comes into the picture. Just we have to say, create a presentation for this thing. So your presentation will be created. So now the school children are also using the generative AI because they are generating the presentation by voice messages on that also. For example, at the time of ours, there is no mobile phone, there is no Android phone. But my son is 4 years old now. He can say, I want this toy, He is using the Google Assistant for searching a toy also. So now they are using the generative AI. For example, if you wanted to create the website, so maybe earlier we will take 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, or 1 month also creating website. But in the generative AI, if you say, I want a website on this, so they will create the website for a particular thing, within a minutes or within seconds. It's a generative AI, right? So nowadays, for example, if we talk about the MP police, because I am from the university guy, so we have 4 years course related to the cyber security and digital forensics, and for 4 years also AI and ML also. But for example, there is a new challenge for MP police. What they have to learn? Either they have to spend 4 years for AI, then 4 years for the cyber security and digital forensics, and 4 years for the remaining things, because if they wanted to solve a case, they have to master in all these technologies. So what they can use, they can use the generative AI. They can go with the generative AI, because for example, if they want a knowledge for the suppose any ransomware attack, knowledge about the ransomware attack and how to reduce or deduce the ransomware attack if somewhere has happened. So what they can do, either taking the knowledge or either we have to use the which technology, generative AI. I think so मैं थोड़ा बहुत बता पाया आपको generative AI के बारे में, right? So artificial intelligence is nothing, it's mimic the human behavior only, right? So we have a subset also like machine learning as well as the deep learning. So initially we have launched the technology machine learning where some pre-processing of data is required and something is required. Like initially we don't have the car, we launched a car, but we have the gearbox car, right? You have to push the gear 1, gear 2, gear 3 and gear some pre-processing concept is required. But whenever the data is very huge, so it is very difficult to pre-process the data. That's why they launched new concept that is called as deep learning. So we have the machine learning in AI as well as we have the deep learning. If your data size is very, very huge, if you don't want to pre-process the data, then you have to go with the deep learning. So basically all the things are related to the data. All the things, if you have the data, then only you can build the model with the machine learning and data then you can apply the machine learning and deep learning. ये कर कुछ नहीं रहे होते हैं ये मॉडल्स, मशीन लर्निंग डीप लर्निंग कर कुछ नहीं रही होती है, आपने इनको इनपुट दिया, ये प्रिडिक्ट करते हैं आउटपुट, लेकिन बीच में जो मॉडल होता है ये मॉडल ड्राइव करने की कोशिश करते हैं. बेसिकली मशीन एआई कुछ नहीं करता, आपका एक मॉडल बनाने की कोशिश करता है, आपने इनपुट दिया और आपका आउटपुट के अकॉर्डिंग आपको ये मॉडल बना के दे देगा, राइट. बस आपका ये मॉडल बनाने का काम ही एआई करता है आपके लिए, राइट. तो ये बेसिकली हमारे एआई का काम है. क्या काम है? हमारा मॉडल बनाने का काम है, राइट. सो हमारे पास उसके लिए मशीन लर्निंग है और अपने पास इसकी डीप लर्निंग है, राइट. और राइट, हाउ मच फास्टर इज जनरेटिव एआई, राइट. हमारे पास फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू हैव द डेटा सेट, आप हमें डेटा सेट दे दें, वी हैव द स्टैक ऑफ 300 और 400 मॉडल्स, हम आपको मॉडल्स विद इन सेकेंड आपको हम 300 मॉडल्स लगा के दे देंगे कि ये मॉडल आपके लिए परफेक्ट रहेगा और ये मॉडल आपके लिए काम कर लेगा. नाउ राइट, नाउ जनरेटिव एआई ऑलरेडी वी हैव डिस्कस्ड, राइट. हम आपके बारे में अब कुछ टेक्नोलॉजीज के बारे में बात करेंगे, सुपरवाइज्ड लर्निंग, अनसुपरवाइज्ड लर्निंग एंड रीइंफोर्समेंट टाइप ऑफ लर्निंग. डू यू नो अबाउट द सुपरवाइज्ड लर्निंग? जब आपके पास ट्रेनर अवेलेबल है, राइट, फॉर एग्जांपल जब आपके पास टीचर अवेलेबल है, तो इस केस में मैं सुपरवाइज कर सकता हूं, तो डेट वी कॉल इट सुपरवाइज्ड मॉडल, राइट. इन केस जब आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम आती है और मैं अवेलेबल हूं आपकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने के लिए, तो उसको कौन सा मॉडल बोलेंगे? सुपरवाइज्ड मॉडल. जब आपके पास कोई ट्रेनर अवेलेबल नहीं है, तो आप जनरेटिव एआई का यूज कर सकते हैं, जो आपको कोई वेबसाइट सिखाने वाला नहीं है, तो फॉर एग्जाम्पल तब आप, जब कोई ट्रेनर अवेलेबल ना हो, तो आप कौन सा मॉडल यूज करेंगे? अनसुपरवाइज्ड मॉडल, राइट. जब आप खुद से सीखेंगे चीजें, राइट. और एक और लर्निंग होती है रीइंफोर्समेंट लर्निंग, राइट. फॉर एग्जांपल आपने चेस प्लेयर देखा होगा, जब आगे बढ़ते हैं, जब आपको सक्सेस मिलती है तो आपको रिवॉर्ड मिलता है, और जब आपको प्रॉब्लम आती है तो आपको क्या मिलता है? पेनल्टी मिलती है. whenever you have to learn by the reward points, then we call it is called as reinforcement type of learning. So there are three types of learning we are using it nowadays. One is supervised, second one is unsupervised, third one is reinforcement type of learning. So these three types of learning we can use it nowadays, right. So हम लोगों ने अभी जनरेटिव एआई के बारे में बात कर ली थोड़ी बहुत, हम लोगों ने थोड़ा बहुत अभी अपन ने ये देख लिया कि एआई होता क्या है, राइट. हम लोग एक प्रैक्टिकल भी करके देखेंगे, राइट. और अपन ने थोड़ा बहुत अभी बात की किस टाइप की मशीन लर्निंग मॉडल्स होते हैं, सुपरवाइज होता है, अनसुपरवाइज होता है, और रीइंफोर्समेंट टाइप ऑफ लर्निंग भी होती है, राइट. अब हम राइट थोड़ा सा अभी थोड़ी डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ थोड़ी सी बातें भी हम लोग करेंगे, राइट, राइट, ताकि हम लोग कुछ सीख पाए. हम लोग ने अभी किसी ने बताया था कि ड्रोन्स के बारे में बताया था, राइट. ड्रोन्स के बारे में बताया, एआई हम लोग ड्रोन्स में कैसे यूज करते हैं, कुछ थोड़ी बहुत अलग टाइप की बातें भी करेंगे हम लोग जनरली एआई में क्या कर लेते हैं, मैं शॉर्टकट में थोड़ा सा बताना चाहूंगा, बिकॉज वी हैव लेस टाइम, राइट, वी हैव लेस अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम टू अंडरस्टैंड एआई, व्हाट एआई कैन डू फॉर यू, अगर आपको सपोज आपको ड्रोन बना रहा है और ड्रोन बनाना है आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग, आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग, फॉर एग्जांपल आपको कुछ मॉनिटर करना है, आपको ये मॉनिटर करना है इस ऑडिटोरियम में क्या हो रहा है, तो यू हैव ए पर्टिकुलर राइट रिक्वायरमेंट, अकॉर्डिंग टू यू हैव टू बिल्ड अ ड्रोन। तो उसके लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट होता है डेटा सेट। क्या इंपॉर्टेंट होता है आपके पास भाई? कोई पर्टिकुलर चीजें के लिए आपको सबसे आपको ट्रेन करना है मॉडल को, तो उसके लिए क्या चाहिए आपको? डेटा सेट चाहिए। तो डेटा सेट आपको बहुत सारी वेबसाइट से मिल जाएगा, अदरवाइज यू हैव टू गो विद दी जनरेटिव एआई जो आपको डेटा सेट जनरेट करके दे देगा। जब आपके पास डेटा सेट आ जाएंगे तो उस डेटा सेट के ऊपर आप क्या लगा सकते हैं? मॉडल लगा सकते हैं। लेकिन मॉडल आपके पास कौन से हैं? राइट, यू हैव वन मॉडल, टू मॉडल, अराउंड हियर यू हैव थाउजेंड्स ऑफ मॉडल्स। सो व्हाट यू कैन गो, यू हैव टू गो विद द गिटहब। आपके पास सारे के सारे मॉडल्स के कोड्स आपको मिल जाएंगे। तो यू हैव टू अप्लाई द कोड्स ऑन दैट डेटा सेट। वंस you get the final model which is giving the best accuracy, आपको क्या चाहिए? हाई एक्यूरेट मॉडल चाहिए, वो आपको हाई एक्यूरेट आपको क्या मिल जाएगा? मॉडल मिल जाएगा। लेकिन जो आपने मॉडल टेस्ट किया होता है वो सर्वर के ऊपर टेस्ट किया होता है, आपके ड्रोन पे तो नहीं चल पाएगा वो, उसमें तो छोटी सी चिप लगी हुई होती है, छोटी सी चिप लगी हुई होती है। तो वो मॉडल आपके ड्रोन पे कैसे चलेगा? उसके लिए यूज करेंगे अपन टाइनी एमएल टेक्निक्स। क्या यूज करेंगे अपन लोग? टाइनी, जो आपके बड़े से कोड को छोटा बना देगा। क्या कर देगा आपका? यू हैविंग द बिगर कोड, दे आर रिड्यूस द कोड इन स्मॉल सेट ऑफ अमाउंट। तो जो छोटा सा कोड है वो आप एक अपनी चिप में, माइक्रो चिप में जैसे ही लोड करेंगे, देन यू आर राइट, देन यूर दैट इज ड्रोन वर्क एज अकॉर्डिंग टू दी योर रिक्वायरमेंट। समझ में आई? आपके लिए एआई अप्लाई करने के लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है? आपके पास क्या होना चाहिए? डेटा सेट। डेटा सेट के ऊपर आप क्या लगा लेंगे? मॉडल्स। मॉडल्स, वंस द मॉडल्स इज गोइंग टू बी फाइनलाइज, उस मॉडल को आप फ्यूज क्या कर देंगे? चिप में। चिप में फ्यूज करने के लिए आपको कौन सी टेक्निक का यूज करना पड़ेगा? आपको टाइनी एमएल टेक्निक्स का। ये टाइनी एमएल के बारे में कोई बताता नहीं जनरली, क्योंकि बिकॉज द कंपनी also wanted to hide something by the help of which, right, tiny छोटा सा ml, right, machine learning, that is tiny machine learning languages by the help of which they can fuse the bigger code into the right small device, right. उसका क्या होता है? for them they have to apply the certain set of optimization step by the help of which they can reduce the code and fuse in the small device. आपका बड़ा सा जो सर्वर का कोड है, जो सर्वर पे चल रहा है, क्या छोटी सी डिवाइस में चल सकता है? नहीं चल सकता। तो व्हाट दे कैन डू, दे कैन रिड्यूस द सेट ऑफ लाइंस और दे कैन ऑप्टिमाइज द कोड एंड फ्यूज इन दी स्मॉल डिवाइस। इतना समझ में आया? राइट। सो व्हाइल if your code is success on the server, definitely it can be also successful in the microchip. Then your drone is work according to your requirement. आपको इतनी बात समझ में आ गई कि ड्रोन कैसे बनाए जाते हैं करके। आपको सबसे पहले डेटा सेट होना चाहिए। डेटा सेट नहीं है तो आप क्या यूज करेंगे? राइट, यू हैव टू यूज विच टेक्नोलॉजी? जनरेटिव एआई टेक्नोलॉजी दैट विल क्रिएट अ डेटा सेट अकॉर्डिंग टू योर रिक्वायरमेंट ओनली, राइट। सो nowadays AI that kind of work they can do for you, right. तो हम आगे बढ़ते हैं। हम लोग अभी एक छोटा सा एक राइट वो देख लेते हैं, एग्जांपल देख लेते हैं, बाय द हेल्प ऑफ विच यू कैन सी हाउ राइट आवर कंप्यूटर और हाउ आवर एआई कैन वर्क। तो हमारे सामने राइट वी हैव द इमेज, एवरीबॉडी नोइंग द इमेज, राइट। इट कैन बी रिप्रेजेंटेड इन हाउ मेनी कलर्स? 3, रेड, ग्रीन। हम एक टर्मिनोलॉजी देख लेते हैं, हाउ दिस आवर मॉडल विल वर्क, रेड, ग्रीन एंड blue, right. So we can represent our image in the terms of pixel in terms of 3 matrices, that is called as, right, one is for red color, one is for green, one is for blue color. So once the matrix has been represented, right, so there, what is the variation, what is the challenges, right, if you wanted to recognize a right image, for example अभी इमेज में भी आपने कैमोफ्लेज इमेजेस के बारे में पढ़ा हुआ, right. It is very helpful for the police, right. Camouflage images, when the images are hidden, right. So there are various challenges for image recognition also, right. One is viewpoint variation, scale variation, deformation, occlusion and illumination. So there are also various challenges are there. So also you can work on the right chemical images also if you want a model for chemical images. So we can give the model by the help of which you can recognize the camouflage images also. अभी तो हम लोगों ने challenges बताए हुए हैं, right? This is the AI tree. So it is composed of many things, right? इसमें neural network भी आ जाता है, right? Because I have to sum up my lecture within 30 minutes, so I have to tell you huge about the AI. तो उसमें कंप्यूटर विजन भी आ जाता है, एक्सपर्ट सिस्टम भी आ जाता है, नेचुरल लैंग्वेज प्रोसेसिंग भी आ जाती है, ऑटोमेशन भी आता है, जेनेटिक एल्गोरिथम्स भी आ जाता है, मशीन लर्निंग भी आ जाती है, इसमें रोबोटिक्स भी आ जाता है, गेम प्लेइंग भी आ जाता है, फजी लॉजिक भी आ जाता है और स्पीच अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी आ जाता है. Now also I will tell you, I have to give some knowledge about the genetic algorithms. Do you know where we have to use the genetic algorithms? आपको कुछ आइडिया है? जेनेटिक एल्गोरिथम्स हम लोग कहाँ यूज कर सकते हैं? एवोल्यूशनरी कंप्यूटिंग कहाँ यूज कर सकते हैं? बिजनेस से एक आंसर आता है, बिजनेस से, और बैंकिंग में, और जनरली आपका जो मैथमेटिकल मॉडल होता है, इट्स अप्रोक्सीमेट मॉडल होता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर आपके पास बात करे जाए कि आपके पास बहुत बड़ा डेटा सेट है, राइट? इफ यू हैव, राइट, 2 लाख लाइन्स, कितने लाइन्स का डेटा सेट है? 2 लाख लाइनों का डेटा सेट है. लेकिन आपके काम का कौन सा डेटा सेट है? मे बी आपके काम की सिर्फ 10 ही लाइन है, राइट? और मे बी आपकी काम की सिर्फ 20 ही लाइन है, राइट? सो it will give you the most appropriate content according to your requirement. For that you can use the genetic algorithms, right? It's not give you the exact solution, but it will give you the approximate solution. तो आप क्या कर सकते हैं कि अगर आपको अपना मॉडल मोस्ट अप्रोप्रिएट मॉडल बनाना है, तो आप क्या करें, उसको पूरा कचरा ना दें अपने मॉडल को. आप क्या करें, आपके पास बहुत सारा डेटा सेट है. जनरेटिव AI is also not a perfect AI, right? So whatever a data set is given by generative AI, you can apply evolutionary computing of that. By the help of that you can get the filtered data. You can get the filtered data, and that data you can provide to your model, right? आपके पास जो डेटा सेट आया वो फिल्टर डेटा सेट तो नहीं आया. You can filter your data set according to the evolutionary computing technique, by the help of which you can make the most exact or most appropriate model according to your requirement. समझ में आया? आप कहाँ यूज पाएंगे? बिजनेस पर्पज से भी यूज होता है, राइट? यू कैन गेट द रिक्वायरमेंट यू कैन गेट द अप्रोप्रिएट कंटेंट अकॉर्डिंग टू योर रिक्वायरमेंट. आपके पास फॉर एग्जांपल यू कैन प्रिडिक्ट, राइट, कि आपका चैनल प्रिडिक्शन सिस्टम के बारे में पता है, राइट? यू कैन ऑल्सो प्रिडिक्ट कि कौन सा कस्टमर भागने वाला है. यू कैन अप्लाई द जेनेटिक एल्गोरिथम ऑन दैट, उसको कुछ ऑफर्स दे दे और उसको पकड़ के रखें, राइट? तो उसके लिए आपको जेनेटिक एल्गोरिथम मींस फॉर द फिल्टरिंग ऑफ डेटा यू कैन अप्लाई द जेनेटिक एल्गोरिथम्स ऑन दैट. अंडरस्टूड? और फॉर फिल्टरिंग ऑफ डेटा सेट यू कैन अप्लाई द जेनेटिक एल्गोरिथम. आपको 100 लाइनें नहीं चाहिए, 2 लाइनें चाहिए, तो उसके लिए आपको कौन काम करके दे देगा? जेनेटिक एल्गोरिथम काम करके आपको दे देगा. और उन 2 लाइनों से आप अपना मॉडल बनाए जो आपका अप्रोप्रिएट मॉडल होगा आपके अकॉर्डिंग. उसके अकॉर्डिंग आप अपना चाहे तो रोबोट बना ले उसके लिए, चाहे तो आप उसके लिए ड्रोन बना लें, राइट? और चाहे तो कोई डिवाइस बना ले, राइट? कोई रोबोट जो होता है, कोई नया, कोई इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ मशीन, राइट? और आपका ड्रोन है, इट्स ऑल्सो काइंड ऑफ मशीन. All the machines are AI based machines, right? So basically what all the machines are made up, all the machines are made up by the data sets. तो डेटा सेट ले लें, मॉडल लगा लें, उसको जहां डिवाइस में फ्यूज करना है. अगर आप रोबोट पे चिप लगा देंगे, इट इज वर्क लाइक ए रोबोट. ड्रोन में आप फ्यूज कर देंगे, इट्स वर्क लाइक ए ड्रोन. आपके पास कुछ भाई मशीन क्या, आप मशीन को रोबोट का नाम दे दें, ड्रोन का नाम दे दें, या किसी और चीज का नाम दे दें, है तो मशीन ही ना. वो है तो मशीन ना, एआई बेस्ड मशीन ही है. बेसिकली एआई बेस्ड फंक्शनिंग क्या है? एक डेटा सेट, दूसरा मॉडल और तीसरी चिप. आपको तीनों चीजें समझ में आई? इनपुट इट्स अ डेटा सेट, आपने मॉडल लगा लिए, एंड आउटपुट इसे चिप. आप चिप जहां फ्यूज करोगे वो मशीन अकॉर्डिंगली बिहेव करने लगेगी. तो मेरी कुछ बातें आपको समझ में आई जो मैं समझाना चाह रहा था आपको. मैं आपको पूरा जो डिस्क्रिप्शन देना चाह रहा हूँ मैं शॉर्ट में देना चाह रहा हूँ, मैं आपको पूरी थ्योरी नहीं पढ़ाना चाह रहा एक्चुअली। सो ये कुछ लाइब्रेरीज होती हैं, राइट। नाउ आई विल टेल यू अबाउट दी समथिंग अबाउट द ML and DL techniques. If you don't have the servers, right? For example, sometime what is happening to us, right? If you wanted to execute the AI ML code, we don't have the servers, we don't have the machines. Then in that case, what you can do? You can use the Google facilities, directly go on the Google website, like Google Colab is available for you. In that case, you can execute your right code in that website, right? For example, अगर आपके पास website, you have created your own website, but you are not able to host, so some free hosting environment is available for you. Similarly, if you don't have, right, if you don't have the right facility to execute your code, if you don't have the machines, तो आप क्या करेंगे? हमारे पास लैपटॉप नहीं है, तो आप क्या करेंगे? वर्चुअली आप हायर करेंगे मशीन्स को, राइट? तो इस फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू डोंट हैव द सर्वर टू एग्जीक्यूट योर कोड, देन आप क्या करेंगे? गूगल को वर्चुअली हायर करेंगे बाय द हेल्प ऑफ गूगल कोलैब फैसिलिटी। आप अपना कोड कहाँ चलाएंगे? गूगल के पास, जिसमें गूगल आपका डेटा पूरा ले रहा होता है, जिसमें गूगल आपका पूरा डेटा और जिसको यूज करके वो अपने टेक्नोलॉजी को एडवांस कर रहा होता है। वो आपको फ्री में कुछ नहीं दे रहा होता है बेसिकली, वो आपका पूरा पूरा डेटा। फॉर एग्जाम्पल अभी दो बंदे एक साथ बैठे होते हैं, राइट। फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपकी डिवाइस कॉन्टेक्ट में आ चुकी है, आप 1 घंटे के बाद चेक कीजिएगा, फेसबुक आपको रिकमेंडेशन दे रहा होगा कि आप इसको फ्रेंड रिक्वेस्ट में ऐड कर लें, right? Every time they are tracing your locations, every time, right, they are taking the data from your phone only, right? For example, मैं सुबह मॉर्निंग में उठा, मेरे पास एक फोन आया, राइट। वो फोन आज ही की बात है, राइट, कि मैं माइंड में 2-3 लोगों से बात कर रहा था, राइट, कि कोई फ्रीलांसिंग का, राइट, कोई प्रोजेक्ट अवेलेबल हो तो आई कैन डू फॉर यू, राइट। तो बेसिकली आई एम फ्री एट द इवनिंग, मैं इसे डिस्कस कर रहा था एट द मॉर्निंग, राइट। आई एम डिस्कसिंग विथ माय फ्रेंड ओनली। अब मैं तो अपने फ्रेंड से बात कर रहा हूँ, राइट। सो सम natural language processing they have done. I received the mail around 11 o'clock from China. कहाँ से मेल आता है, right? So, right, we have this requirement. Can you work for us, right? So basically, if you are moving with some friends, whom with you are moving it, whom with you are talking it, everything will be recorded by the। आप 10 मिनट बात कर लीजिए किसी आईफोन के बारे में, फोन के बारे में, कि आई वांटेड टू परचेज दिस सेल फोन, आप देखेंगे गूगल पे उसके इमेजेस आने लगेंगे, राइट। एवरीथिंग, दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द एआई। दे आर डूइंग द नेचुरल लैंग्वेज प्रोसेसिंग सिस्टम, दे आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग योर लैंग्वेज, राइट। अकॉर्डिंगली दे आर पोस्टिंग द रिक्वायरमेंट अकॉर्डिंग टू योर रिक्वायरमेंट। तो ये सब हो रहा होता है, लेकिन हम लोग को कुछ भी मालूम नहीं पड़ता है, राइट। बट एमपी पुलिस हैज टू बी वेरी एडवांस कि, राइट, अगर आपको अपनी रिक्वायरमेंट है तो ऑलरेडी मार्केट के जो मॉडल्स हैं वो तो आपका क्रिमिनल यूज ही कर रहा होता है, लेकिन आपको आपके खुद के मॉडल बनाने, आपकी अपनी रिक्वायरमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग। उसके लिए आपको पता होना चाहिए सिंपल 3 से कंसेप्ट है। डेटा सेट उठाओ, नहीं तो जनरेट करो। अगर आपको अप्रोप्रिएट मॉडल चाहिए तो जेनेटिक एल्गोरिथम्स लगाएंगे, मॉडल बनाएंगे और चिप बनाएंगे, अपनी डिवाइस पे लगाएंगे, अपना काम खुद कर लेंगे। अगर आपकी चिप भी मार्केट में सोल्ड आउट हो रही होती है, राइट, आपकी चिप भी अवेलेबल होगी, तो आप में और उनमें कोई भी डिफरेंस नहीं रहेगा। आई एम राइट? So you have to, right, become an innovator also. आपको इनोवेटर भी बनना है, आपको साइबर सिक्योरिटी एक्सपर्ट भी बनना है, आपको AML का एक्सपर्ट भी बनना है। आपको किन किन चीजों का एक्सपर्ट बनना है मुझे नहीं मालूम। So basically this is CNN networks, right, in which 3 layers are there. One is convolution layer, right, second one is ReLU layer, third one is, right, how this motivation will come. न्यूरल नेटवर्क का मोटिवेशन, राइट, एवरीबॉडी इज नोइंग अबाउट अ न्यूरल नेटवर्क। सबको पता है न्यूरल नेटवर्क के बारे में, राइट। सो न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स, राइट, इट्स अ, राइट, व्हेन सिंपली सिंस चाइल्डहुड, राइट, वी आर ट्रेनिंग आवर ब्रेन by observing the things. Similarly, for artificial neural network is also built on same concept. We have to train the network according to our requirement. It will function according to your requirement then. right? So firstly we have to train and test. Afterwards model will behave according to the your requirement only. So that's called as neural network. So shorter form of neural network is convolutional neural network. पर जब neural network में बहुत सारा टाइम लगने लगा तो हम लोग CNN के पास गए जिन्होंने कुछ प्रोसेसिंग टाइम हमारा कम कर लिया था. Because for example if you wanted to train your network according to the images, तो images की साइज बहुत बड़ी होती है ट्रेनिंग के लिए, तो इसलिए हमने उसको रिड्यूस किया ट्रेनिंग और टेस्टिंग टाइम यूजिंग दी कन्वोल्यूशन न्यूरल नेटवर्क. सो हमारे पास इसमें कुछ लेयर हैं. तो बेसिकली फॉर एग्जांपल अब एआई क्या चल रहा होता है कि आपको पता है ये एक्स है, ये परफेक्ट एक्स है और ये थोड़ा सा ट्रिल्ड एक्स है, लेकिन एआई इसको पहचान लेता है. एआई को आप कुछ तोड़ मरोड़ को भी दोगे ना तो वो उसको जोड़ के रखता होता है, क्योंकि हमने एआई को क्या किया होता है, टेस्टिंग और ट्रेनिंग ऐसी की होती है कि वो सब पहचान लेता है. अब एआई में क्या किया होता है कि फॉर एग्जांपल आपने किसी के जूते अलग दे दो, आप किसी का फेस अलग से दे दो, किसी के हैंड्स अलग से दे दो, लेकिन वो क्या करेगा, एआई क्या करेगा, वो जोड़ जाड़ के आपको बता देगा भाई ये इंसान था, है ना. तो एआई इज दैट मच ऑफ पावरफुल लाइक दैट. अब एआई से हम लोग क्या क्या कर सकते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल आपने एटीएम सिस्टम में सभी लोग जाते हैं एटीएम में, एटीएम में सब लोग जाते हैं, रॉबिंग होती है, मतलब कुछ कपड़ा वपड़ा पहन के लोग राइट फेस पे मास्क पहन के रॉबिंग कर लेते हैं. अपन क्रिमिनल को पहचान नहीं पाते. कोई पहचान पाता है क्रिमिनल को? लेकिन एआई ने क्या किया हुआ है आपको पता है, उसने अपना फेस तो कवर अप किया होता है, बट क्या अपना गेट का पैटर्न चेंज कर सकता है क्या एआई? कैन समबडी कैन चेंज द गेट पैटर्न? चलने की स्टाइल को कोई चेंज कर सकता है क्या? नहीं कर सकता ना. सो व्हाट द एआई कैन डू अकॉर्डिंग टू गेट पैटर्न, the right AI can recognize the person. In that technology I am working on it. Understood? Right? So according to the gate pattern, right, I can train my system by the help of which I can recognize what, right, who is the person who robbed my system or who is came for the ATM to rob for the robbery. Understood? So AI is that much of powerful. Now I think so the time is for questioning, right? But I have to show some demonstration for you, right? So for example, suppose this is a Google link. I am executing. अरे चल नहीं रहा है. ये चल नहीं रहा है. नहीं ये स्क्रीन में नहीं आ रहा है. Okay, maybe some problem is there. This slide से बाहर आके क्या करूँगा? Okay, no issues. I can also share right on the WhatsApp, right? I can share the Google column for you, and as well as I will share right the various models to you. जिसमें आपके पास 300 models के code रहेंगे. So whenever you have to give the input data set, it will build the model for you. आपको क्या करना है, सिंपली आप उस मॉडल को जो आपका मोस्ट एक्यूरेट मॉडल रहेगा उस मॉडल को आप TinyML में प्रोवाइड करवा दीजिएगा. दैट मॉडल विल बिल्ड राइट that model you can fuse in right small devices like right drones or any right robotic systems. Okay. So, इसको चलाना है, इसको चलाना है, Control C. नहीं चला, वो उस पर नहीं चल रहा ना, स्क्रीन पे नहीं आ रहा ना। Okay, no issues for that, right? So what we can do it, right? I can share the various model for आपको सिर्फ मॉडल्स में जो एआई में ये सीखना है कि उस मॉडल में लेयर्स कौन कौन सी होती है। जैसे सीएनएन अप्लाई करते हैं आप किसी मॉडल में, तो उसमें कुछ लेयर्स होती है लाइक कन्वेंशनल लेयर, रिल्यू लेयर और आपकी पूलिंग लेयर। तो आपको पता होना चाहिए कि 3 लेयर लगती हैं इसमें। उसके लिए बेसिक से आप जनरेटिव एआई के पास जाएंगे या गूगल पे जाएंगे तो दे कैन टेल यू हाउ मेनी लेयर्स आर देयर इन ईच मॉडल। वो लेयर्स में कितने बार वो लेयर्स लगाने हैं, जितनी बार जितनी ज्यादा लेयर्स लाएंगे उतना एक्यूरेट रिजल्ट आ जाएगा। एंड आफ्टरवर्ड सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम आपकी एक्यूरेसी नहीं बढ़ेंगे, तो वहां पे आप स्टॉप करेंगे कि इतनी लेयर्स लगानी है, इतनी लेयर्स के बाद आपका मॉडल मिल जाएगा। उतनी लेयर्स के मॉडल के बाद आप अपनी टाइनी एमएल टेक्निक्स लगा देंगे। टाइनी एमएल के बाद वो क्या करेंगे, आपको चिप बना के आपको फ्यूज करनी है, राइट? आपके जहां पे भी आपको उस चिप की वर्किंग करवानी है, राइट? तो लाइक रोबोटिक्स में क्या करता है, रोबोट से भी पर्टिकुलर आप रोबोट्स को भी किसी न किसी डेटा सेट के अकॉर्डिंग ट्रेन करते हैं। लाइक रेस्टोरेंट के लिए ट्रेन करते हैं अपने रोबोट्स को, लाइक आप रोबोट्स को ट्रेन करते हैं मिलिट्री पर्पस के लिए, लाइक फॉर बॉर्डर्स के लिए ट्रेन करते हैं। तो रोबोट्स को भी आप पर्टिकुलर डेटा सेट तो प्रोवाइड कराएंगे ही ना। और रोबोट्स कौन बनाएगा, हम ही लोग बनाएंगे। आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग आप रोबोट्स बनाएंगे। तो इफ यू वांटेड टू बिल्ड योर रोबोट अकॉर्डिंग टू योर रिक्वायरमेंट, व्हाट यू हैव टू डू, just you have to build a model and fuse it inside the device. Accordingly the robots work for you. So that's all for now for me. So any queries you can ask it. I can give the answer technically, what, how can, right, how can achieve your work, right? If you have any query you can ask, I can answer your query. Any queries from your side? Yes. Sir, it is also
taken. So at every time they are not following RGB or they are not the polychromatic. They are most of the time are monochromatic. Now identification from that data set of certain military hardware or military objects or objects of interest to maybe law enforcement agencies. What is a way out for that? And now there is second factor to it. That key, the altitude of capture of those images is variable. It starts from few feet, it goes up to the satellite imagery, which is in kilometers. So how do you meet up this particular requirement?
Sir,
In terms of algo, which is of course your models, in terms of data and in terms of processing.
suppose sir you have given the first of all you have the various question in one sentence, so I have to answer one by one question according to your requirement. Suppose I have taken the image from the right very high point of view, right? So definitely I got the deformed image, right? The blurry image you maybe got it, right? So first of all we have to improve the resolution, as well as you have to find out the object of interest, right? You have, for example, object of interest is also, right, for example, right, you have a bigger size of image but the object of interest is very small in that image. For that also one YOLO weights are there, right? One YOLO technology is there that will find out the object of interest according to your requirement. Yeah, black and suppose there are maybe not in color, maybe the black and white images are there, right? Black and white images also can be represented in the form of matrices. Right. If you have the data set, you can give it to me. I will try the models on that. If my models are successful, I will provide the results to you. Any other question? Any other question?
As we were talking about AI basically mimics human behavior. So just few days back, I was using ChatGPT and I was asking it some personal question, and I was so shocked to see the response it was able to give me. It was it was almost like as if I'm talking to some real person. So how AI is able to store these knowledge, store human behaviors, and how it is able to predict uh, how to respond in such scenarios, means human behavior और human emotions को वो कैसे predict कर पा रहा है, हम कैसे उसको इतना ट्रेन कर पा रहे हैं, कैसे इस तरह की नॉलेज दे पा रहे हैं?
Actually, initially, what has happened, for example, for in my case, also in my journey, also with the AI. Actually, I am not from the AI field earlier. I was from the wireless sensor networks field. Slowly, I have transformed myself from wireless sensor networks to the AI field. For example, this is a very genuine question, right? Initially, you have to give the test data set, right? Training data set. And according to the training data set, it will provide you some results. Afterwards, you have to produce some test data set for a validation purpose. It provides you some accuracy, right? 48%, then we have increased the accuracy for 60%, then 80% and 90%. Our task is to increase the accuracy only. Finally, right, when we have launched our AI model to the market, we got lots of testing data sets, right? So if we give the 1,000 test data set, afterwards our model becomes so much accurate, it's provide you the results according to your requirement. Because earlier maybe our mathematical model maybe not accurate, right? But because of training, testing, now it's becomes the accurate model for the society. Earlier, whenever I write, initially at my learning phase, I'm able to apply only 5 or 6 models only. But now I am able to apply 300 models in 2 to 3 minutes by the combination of various models. So that will also generate some data for you, as well as they can also get the data from the internet also. So AI is that much of powerful. For example, maybe you have given the data set to the Google. Your ID is with the Google, right? Your profile is with the Google, right? Your Gmail account with the Google, your LinkedIn account with the Google. It will get the data from these sources and gives you the result according to your requirement, right? You are not thinking, right? They have the servers that much of faster. They have taken from your LinkedIn account, your Gmail account, and various IDs wherever you have created, and accordingly, right, they have applied the model within 2 minutes. If I apply 300 models, definitely, right, ChatGPT can apply the thousands of model on that, and accordingly they give the result according to your requirement. Understood? Already you have given the data to Google. Just they are massifying some data, applying the model and giving it to you. This is nothing new in that, because for example, you are moving with your friends. After some time, they will also provide the data according to right, your friend circle is this, your best friend is there, that this is your enemy, this is not your enemy, this is thinking positive about you, this is thinking negative about that person is thinking negative about you. So they will provide the data according to your requirement, because you have already given the data to the Google, and this they are applying the models to the Google and giving according to the requirement, giving according to your requirement. Any other question? हाँ.
ये चीज है
सर
आपको क्वेश्चन सुनाई दिया था?
हाँ, डीफेक के बारे में आपका क्वेश्चन है सर। आपने डीफेक पे किसी का राइट फेस लगा सकते हैं, उसकी वॉइस मिमिक कर सकते हैं, लेकिन आपका पर्सनालिटी तो वो चेंज नहीं करेगा, राइट? आपका गेट पैटर्न तो चेंज नहीं करेगा। तो वी हैव सर्टेन फिल्टर्स, राइट? एक फिल्टर लगाया तो उसमें आपकी राइट मे बी राइट एक फिल्टर लगाया अपन ने, तो एक फिल्टर से उसको ये पता पड़ गया कि राइट आपका राइट फेस तो ठीक है, उसका है, किसी और का फेस है, लेकिन बाकी फिल्टर्स जो होंगे जो आपकी पर्सनालिटी में अप्लाई करेंगे, तो बाय द हेल्प ऑफ विच वी कैन प्रिडिक्ट इट इज अ डीफेक और नॉट।
मेरा सेकंड क्वेश्चन है कि वो रिपोर्ट जो है कोर्ट में एडमिसिबल होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि वो तो आपराधिक कृत्य है। तो बिल्कुल ऐसा है कि हाँ ये फेक है या रियल है, इस तरीके से ऐसा कोई संस्थान है या कहाँ पर इन चीज़ों को वो किया जाता है?
सर एक्चुअली मतलब for example there are right like centers like CAPT or various right centers are there. So you can also having some law agencies which can right predict for you, but I don't have the knowledge about which kind of law agencies are available. But if you give it to me, I can provide it to you, provide to you. That's why right Parvez sir has right done with good initiative. He is also tie up with us or tie up with right higher ranking organizations, education institution who are working on AI, right? Those who are working on cyber security. So if some help is required, they are also ready to help.
Well, in the court of law.
कोई आवाज आ रही है आपको? कोई फ्री टूल अवेलेबल है क्या?
बोनस लेना पड़ता है।
फ्री टूल्स अवेलेबल है क्या?
हाँ, lots of free tools are available here, right? So I can share the tools details with you. डीफेक के लिए तो बहुत सारे फ्री टूल्स अवेलेबल है, तो हम आपके साथ में फ्री टूल्स शेयर कर देंगे। एनीथिंग एल्स? और अगर आपका कोई इंक्वायरी हो या कोई डेटा सेट हो जिसमें मॉडल लगाने हैं तो वो भी लगा के हम आपको दे देंगे। मोबाइल नंबर आपको मैं आपको शेयर कर दूंगा। ओके, थैंक यू, थैंक्स।
Now I invite Shri Surendra Nath Yadav ji to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of all the participants, I sincerely thanks Mr. Praveen Lalwani ji for delivering a very informative lecture on artificial intelligence, its various aspects, usage and limitations. Thanks a lot, sir.
I also invite Shri Logesh Kumar sir. Sir is not here. Shri Deepak Gehlawat sir. So please come over the stage and present a memento to the guest speaker as a token of remembrance. Sir. Sir. So now this is the lunch time. Vehicle is available. You can avail the facility and have lunch. It is prepared and available at Vindhyachal Mess. And the next session will commence at the same place in this auditorium only. Please come back again by 1500 hours. I think